I know, I've been MIA. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, but I'm back. And even though I've been offline, I've still been online and I've been noticing something. Something is on the rise and it's pure, unfiltered, bold with it, not even trying to hide or disguise it. Hate. Not constructive criticism, not harmless opinion, just hate. And I want to talk about it. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're good and hope you're well. So why do we hate? I have theories, as always, and I have some suggested solutions. But before we get into that, please can I ask that you like, you comment, and you subscribe if you're not already. Like I said, I'm back for good, I promise, and I really want to make it to 100K pretty soon. So if you can help me out with the engagement, that will show it to more people and we'll reach that goal really soon. Thank you. Okay, so firstly, let me identify the two types of hate, or I'll say negative responses, two types that I've been noticing as of late. And the first one is reacting negatively to something good. For example, Coffeegate. We were all there. I still think about it to this day often. The day was Friday, the month October, the year 2022. At Little Plant Mammy tweeted this: "My husband and I wake up every morning and bring our coffee out to the garden and sit and talk for hours. Every morning. It never gets old and we never run out of things to talk to. Love him so much." Wholesome tweet. Nothing objectively bad about that tweet. Beautiful. She enjoys her morning. She loves her husband. They talk for hours. Beautiful, you would think. But Little Plant Mummy got hit with responses like this. And this, and this, and this, and this. And my personal favorite, this. Another example was when @Aaliyah's Interlude tweeted this on February 12th, 2023. She tweeted that she's been having a good year so far. That's it. That was the tweet. And she was met with responses like this. And this, and this, and this. All right, so here's my theory behind the heart behind these responses. I think hating is often born out of frustration. And that frustration is a frustration towards society as a whole, not the individual. Like, for example, a nurse on Twitter complaining about an influencer's life, in my theory, likely wouldn't complain about that same influencer's life if they were rightfully paid a fair wage, if they were rightfully paid a wage that allowed them to live a rightfully, justifiably deserved, comfortable life. But if our frustration is then with society, with lawmakers, with the powers that be, with capitalism or whatever, then why direct that hate towards an individual whose actions in and of themselves aren't like bad? Saying you have coffee with your husband in the morning, saying that you've had a good year so far, in and of itself isn't bad. And I think it has a lot to do with proximity and accessibility. Even though you could argue that it would be a lot more effective to direct your frustration towards the lawmakers, towards your local MP, maybe going out and rioting, maybe protesting, maybe striking, those sorts of things. Even though you could argue those would be a more effective use of your energy and your time if you actually wanted to affect change and if you're actually frustrated with the things that I think people are actually frustrated with. Oftentimes the opportunity or the trigger to vent will come to you. So it will come to you as you're scrolling Twitter and you see somebody saying that they had a good year when you've had the worst year ever, or you're scrolling on Instagram and you'll see an influencer unboxing a Gucci bag when you're struggling to make ends meet. So even though, yes, logically maybe it is more effective to go elsewhere, the opportunity is presenting itself in the form of a trigger, in the form of something that you do mindlessly, like scrolling social media. And often in like responses and stuff, you'll see people try to justify or rationalize their hate or their feedback or their reply. But again, I think if we're being honest with ourselves, the emotion that's at play here is jealousy. And I think often haters are motivated by jealousy or spite, more so than they are by a reasoned or fair analysis. The second type of hate or negativity I've been seeing recently is reacting to something kind of bad as if it's really bad. For example, online, you'll see somebody who's deemed unrelatable receive the same level of hate as someone who's actually committed like an injustice or even a crime. And here's my theory of why. So actually, it's not my theory. I read it in ID. And in this article, it was talking about how there's like a very prevalent form of online ethics, which promotes the idea that public perception is the ultimate value system. So the internet has become this moral compass, but the gag is the compass is broken. Because online, on social media, public agreement is the value system. And therefore, outrage or level of offense can literally be measured by engagement metrics. So likes, comments, retweets. And so we're essentially living in a time where two very different levels of offenses can be met with identical levels of engagement metrics, value systems, or measurements of value. So in a sense, they're met with the same level of criticism. And so it's blurring the lines between which offenses actually deserve our outrage. And so there's this video posted on TikTok by a TikToker called Blair Walnuts, and she was basically outlining different levels of different things that she could do and the negative response that people would still give her regardless of the kind of thing she did. And she kind of concluded that it's impossible to win.
If a man bought me all these designer bags, I'm a gold digger. If I bought them myself, I'm privileged and I should be spending my money in other ways. But if I buy cheaper brands from Target, Walmart, Shein, I'm supporting fast fashion. If I buy sustainable brands, they're too expensive and I'm unrelatable. If I thrift my clothes and bags, then I'm taking away resources from people that might need them more. The only logical conclusion then is if I made my own clothes and bags. But then, where did I source the materials? And how would I have the time? When just like you, I live in this machine called capitalism. My rent's expensive. So please, let me know how to not work and make my own clothes, bags, and shoes, and how to make everybody happy.
And it's funny that she lists things like being a gold digger or being unrelatable to things like promoting unethical labor. Like, being unrelatable, promoting unethical labor, those two things seem like very different levels of like bad. But as that article stated, public opinion has become the ultimate value system. And so when the metrics on Twitter, for example, might be the same when someone's talking about how their favorite influencer is now unrelatable, or when they're talking about how their favorite influencer's new merch line is producing a sweatshop, by those metrics, the internet's moral compass is telling us that those two offenses are exactly equal, exactly the same, and deserve the same level of outrage. And the article concludes by saying this, I'm going to read it out. The problem with the internet acting as a punitive moral compass isn't that moral compasses are inherently useless, is that the internet's version is inconsistent, ineffective, and rarely informed in good faith. Woo! Truth. So what's the solution? It's always simple in theory, but obviously not in practice. I think it's simply to be happy. Jokes. I know it's not that simple to just be happy, but I think at the very least, we should focus on our happiness. Keyword being focus. Jealousy, which I've mentioned, I think is the key catalyst here. Jealousy is not even possible so much without comparison. Even when things aren't going well, one thing that's guaranteed to not make it any better is focusing on those who do have it better. It's both impractical and detrimental to your own mental health, and then potentially as a result detrimental to the mental health of the person who you decide to take it out on. And speaking as someone whose default is to let their feelings dictate their mood, I'm now actively trying to do the opposite, and as much as I can, focus on the things that are going good in my life. For some, that's as simple as a mindset shift. For others, it might require therapy. For others, it might require talking to people around them, talking to their loved ones, spending time with people that actually make them happy. I've never seen a happy hater, because happy people don't hate. And I want to be mindful of people whose circumstances make it really, really hard for them to be happy. Like, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, just be happy. But to reiterate, yes, your circumstances can absolutely make it hard or affect your ability to feel happiness, but being unhappy and having a lack of good things in your life is still not an excuse to hate. It's not an excuse to be mean. Because if that was the case, then why do we see people living in poverty in third world countries who have the kindest hearts? Meanwhile, the people committing the worst acts in the world are usually people living in the West or living in absolute fortune, living a good life. So if your circumstances were an excuse for that, then that wouldn't be the case. Let's try not to let our circumstances make us bitter towards people who just happen to not be in the same circumstances as you, whether it's through privilege, whether it's through hard work. It doesn't change anything for anybody. That's my advice. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you like this kind of video, then check out some similar videos right here. Please drop a like and a comment. Like I said, it helps more people see my videos. And I will see you real soon. Thank you for watching. Bye.